Just ahead on Heartland Highways, come along for 3 unique tours.
First, we're off to the new Lake Shelbyville Visitors Center to learn more about the lake and the special programs put on by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers.
Then we'll take a tour of the dam that helped create the lake.
And this episode concludes with a look at the EIU Renewable Energy Center, a one-of-a-kind facility where we'll get the inside scoop from EIU President Dr. William Perry.
That's coming up next, so stay tuned.
Hi, thanks for tuning in for Heartland Highways this week. Now, since the 1970s, people from central Illinois and really all over the area have been enjoying Lake Shelbyville for its recreational opportunities.
Well, now they have one more reason to come to the area. In the spring of 2010, the Corps of Engineers opened their new Visitor Center, which replaced a much smaller facility. I had the chance to check it out to see what's in store for you. It's a building you can't miss. Sitting atop a hill near the dam and overlooking the lake is the Lake Shelbyville Project Office and Visitor Center. Run by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the new building replaced a much smaller one that had been built here in the 1980s.
It gives us more flexibility. There's a lot more to offer now, not only to the visitors but the communities that serve it. Because it's the exhibit hall that you see here, but also the lobby and the auditorium, and then we have a resource library for teachers and even the public to use. And then you go outside, then we've put in things like the outdoor classroom and enhanced the butterfly garden in the house, and the wraparound deck, just a casual walk around it. So it's sort of a complete package now.
The new building provides an easy connection to the adjacent day-use area known as Dam East. Walkways alongside the building provide great views of the lake because of the building's high vantage point. Stepping inside, a 2-story, wide-open lobby greets visitors. The facility is both eye-catching and environmentally friendly.
The old visitor center used to stand here, and then the project office was across the road from us here. Well, one of the first things they did, of course, they had to demolish those 2 buildings, and I think 98% of both buildings were recycled. It wasn't just torn down and thrown in a dumpster. They actually took the time to separate the wood from the concrete and the brick and things, and made sure that was recycled. And that was one of the first things. And then, of course, efficiency in the heating and cooling, and then the windows where we get natural light instead of having to use artificial lighting is one big thing. And then even like down to when you flush the toilet here, it's a low flow, and so you don't use the water, but that as much water as you would have. But all those were taken in consideration, and to make it what we call a green building. And it actually met the Silver LEED certification, which is environmental design, and when it was constructed.
A new exhibit hall features changing displays that center around one primary theme.
Lake Shelbyville is your lake. Protect it, share it, and enjoy it. And then when you walk into the exhibit hall, you see that message. And then we talk about, of course, the 5 purposes of Lake Shelbyville, which is the main one's flood control. And then we have recreation, navigation, because we have a lock and dam further down on the Kaskaskia River, and then fish and wildlife conservation and future water supply. So we emphasize those when you first come into the exhibit hall. And then the flow of it wraps around that theme. We talk about the natural communities, and that's where we wish the people and enhance and provoke them to protect that part of our communities, because without the natural communities and protecting Lake Shelbyville, it won't be here for the rest of our future generations if we don't take care of it now. And I know myself and many others, there's 3.5 million visitors that come here every year that enjoy this lake, and want to further, other people to enjoy it too. And then it wraps around to the share it part, which is basically we talk about the early inhabitants that used to once live here in this area, and then also the local communities. And that we have the 5 communities that we showcase, and we'll showcase throughout different years with changing up panels and things. And that's where we wrap around to the enjoy it side. Primarily outdoor recreation. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers provides the most outdoor recreation of any agency in the nation. So in here at Lake Shelbyville, we have several things to offer. We talk about the camping and boating and fishing and different experiences that you can enjoy here, but also play it safe. The big emphasis is on water safety, of course. We got 11,100 acres of water to come out and enjoy, and we want people to do that, but we also want them to enjoy it.
The exhibits are not only educational, but also hands-on for visitors of any age.
Because we know that more people, you can read something and you can see something, people can tell you something, but more people are apt to learn it and it sticks with them if they get their hands on it, and so it's really where we wanted not only things for kids, but also adults, all ages, come in and be intrigued about what's behind that panel, or do I know that fish, or take a crawl through a log. Never been through one of those before. So those things we wanted to encourage instead of just come in here and it be stagnant. One of the main focuses is that what I strive to do is, as manager of the Visitor Center, is every time that somebody comes in, they have a new and different experience.
The Visitor Center is just one of the many areas under the direction of the Corps of Engineers. They manage both the lake and the surrounding land that includes day use areas and campgrounds. However, volunteers from the surrounding area play an important role in helping the Corps to better serve the public.
Without our volunteer staff, there's a lot of things that we couldn't do, and we appreciate each and every one of them. But one of them is that they host and man the information desk here at the Visitor Center. Not only do they staff it, they help maintain the Visitor Center inside and out. They greet people, and it's people that also enjoy the lake, been coming to the lake. One of my volunteer staff members used to actually work here as a seasonal and swore she'd never come back and volunteer for a job she worked, but here she is. It's a great place to be.
While boating and camping activities on and near the lake are seasonal, there are plenty of visitor opportunities any time of the year. The Visitor Center is open year-round with a change of hours during the winter months.
Visitor Center manager, it just excites me when people come in here. And like I said, whether it's their first time or they've been to the old one, they've been coming for years, or this is their first day at Lake Shelbyville, it's all been great. We read comments, it's great, it's excellent. It took a lot of thought, and it's a great place to visit. And they bring people back, or say, we're coming back. Instead of going such and such place, we're coming here.
While we were at the Visitor Center, we had a couple questions about the dam that helped form the lake. Well, we got all the answers we needed and more on our very own tour. Over a century ago, a recognized need to regulate the waterways and create more navigable routes for commerce came about. And that's when the Army Corps of Engineers stepped in.
The decision was made to give it to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers at the time. They still are the only and the premier engineering agency within the government. And the design basically was given to them, and then the need to manage them stayed with the Corps.
One project that came of this is the lake and dam in Shelbyville, Illinois.
The dam, actually, first thoughts of it started in the 1930s. They saw the need for flood control and navigation aid on the lower Kaskaskia and Mississippi rivers. Things kind of slowed down with those thoughts in the 40s with World War II, picked back up again in the 50s, and after all the initial paperwork and research and studies were done, groundbreaking took place in 1963.
And while the dam and lake are still very much used for flood control and navigation, some other uses have developed too.
There are some other purposes as well. Probably the most common one that we see now is recreation. Recreation is definitely the biggest draw for tourism, and it's what a lot of the people now know this dam for, and the lake. But it's still navigation and flood control is the top two priorities.
Even though the lake is well known for recreation, what is not as well known is that you can actually take a tour of the dam structure that created it.
Well, what we typically do on our tours is we start out here in the Visitors Center. We just give a little brief overview of how the dam came about and the lake and why it's here. And then we will take them down and we'll actually travel across the catwalk, show them the gates, basically just go over how it's operated and controlled. And we do take tours down inside the dam, which basically takes them down underneath the lake.
On the tour of the dam, visitors get an up-close look and an in-depth story about the structure and all of its equipment.
Basically there is 5 gates, it's a 5-gate system. There is 3 Tainer gates, which is the larger gates, and the 2 smaller gates are what we call sluice gates. And those are what we use 90% of the time. We have a minimum release of 75 cubic feet per second, and our maximum release is just over 33,000 cubic feet per second. And basically how it works is they're constantly monitoring the inflows and the outflows of not just Lake Shelbyville, but also our sister lake Carlisle downstream, and that all up and down the Mississippi and Kaskaskia River. The determinations are made depending on water levels, flow rates, exactly how much we need to retain and how much we can let loose out of the dam here. Once we get them down in there, we are just describing some of the checks that we have for the dam, some of the engineering features down there as far as the stability of the dam. We also, there's a lot of instrumentation that we discussed down there, just basically how it works. And if we're flowing enough water, typically you can hear it down there, and the people, especially kids, really get a kick out of that. You can hear it through 8 foot of concrete down there. Most of the things down there is basic stuff. It'll tell us lake levels. We have instruments that'll give us pressure readings. And then there's a lot of just very simple stuff that tells us as far as any movement, if there's been any movement. Which to date there has not been any movement in the dam structure since its construction. So it's just a lot of monitoring equipment to make sure everything's safe and sound.
Now we know all about the tour of the dam and how it works, but even more interesting are some of the facts that we may not know.
The only concrete in the dam itself is what you see. It's where the gate structures are. And the rest on both sides is all earthen. It's all dirt. On the face side of the dam, it is grassed, and then on the back side, you'll see riprap rock covering it, which will help with erosion and keep the dam stable. One thing that we talked about cubic feet per second and gallons per second coming out of the dam. We do reach 33,000 cubic feet. Just under, I believe it's 8,400 gallons per second. I always equate that so people get an idea of, picture 8,400 gallons of milk all at once, every second coming out of that dam. And that's our maximum release. Just some other interesting facts. There's enough concrete in the dam structure to basically create a 45-mile long 2-lane highway. So we try to relate it to terms people can understand instead of just giving a lot of numbers.
Another interesting fact is that once the dam was built, it was estimated that it would take about 2 years to fill the lake. Thanks to a wet season, it filled in half that time. With all of the water flowing through the dam, it raises questions for some about power production.
Up until this point, it just simply has not been feasible. We don't have enough water flow, basically. There's currently an ongoing study, and that is still in place to my understanding, but that's definitely something that could happen in the future and possibly very near future.
But in the meantime, since there's no hydroelectric power plant to tour, we'll just stick to the dam. After all, an impressive structure responsible for flood control and creating an entire lake has a sense of awe all its own.
I think what people like the most of the tour is just the overwhelmingness of it. It is a very large structure. Probably the most things we hear the most comments on would be the catwalk when we take them out, because you are actually you're on a catwalk just standing over the lake. So you can look straight down at the lake, or you can look out in front of you, and if we've got decent release amounts, it's pretty impressive to see that water come out into the spillway.
So next time you're taking in some fishing, boating, or recreation on a lake, maybe take a minute to remember how it all got there. In this case, at least, it all started with a dam.
Our final destination takes us just across campus of Eastern Illinois University to the Renewable Energy Center. Now, this might not seem like a typical destination for Heartland Highways, but it's something truly unique for our area. Our guide is Eastern's President Dr. William Perry, who took our special correspondent Jack Neal, who just happens to be our boss, on this special tour.
Sometimes the best ideas come from a problem, and Eastern Illinois University had one to solve. Their 1928 steam plant, which sits within the main part of campus, was in need of replacement. Building upon a campus history of recycling and conservation, the university set out to build a clean energy facility.
What people see here today is the result of 3 or 4 years of work, a lot of community conversations, a lot of interaction with the community with regard to the appearance of the plant and its function. Well, our initial plan had something that was more industrial in appearance. We got some very strong reaction to that from the community, so we met in a series of meetings at the Carnegie Library downtown and found out that the appearance was a very, very important part of the project for the members of the community. So we went back to the drawing board and came up with what you see here.
The building, which looks less like a power plant and more like an office or school building, has several architectural features, including a two-sided clock tower. A special water feature in front of the building serves more than just an aesthetic purpose.
Well, it's like an iceberg. What you see is the tip of the iceberg. Underneath the ground is a 30,000-gallon retention pond, if you will, or container. And you see when you build a building here, where before there was just earth, the rain that would come and soak into the earth before now falls on a roof. And so now it comes rolling off. By retaining it here before allowing it to move downstream, we're also being friendly to our neighbors to our south, where the drainage from this property goes. That slows down the current.
In addition to the way it looks, the new plant is quite different from the 1928 steam plant. Rather than burning coal, this new facility burns biomass, or wood chips, as its main source of fuel.
Yes, there aren't many biomass plants on universities in the country, and we are the second largest in the country in terms of the 27,000 tons of biomass that we gasify each year to supply all the steam for the campus.
The west side of the building is dedicated to wood chip unloading, transport, and storage. Approximately 5 to 7 trucks per day from a supplier in Missouri enter the facility to unload 20 tons of chips. The truck is parked on a 70-foot-long hydraulic lift that elevates the truck to a 63-degree angle. The lifting process takes about 5 minutes from start to finish. Gravity drops the chips into the conveyor system. From here, they're deposited into a storage building that can house 100,000 cubic feet of chips. On average, that's enough to run the campus for about 10 days. To remove the fuel from storage, a reclaimed screw auger removes chips from the bottom of the storage pile and deposits them onto a conveyor for transport into the plant. The reclaimed screw auger is 50 feet long and weighs a whopping 12 tons. It's the largest one of its kind in the Western Hemisphere.
Well, what we're in right now is the storage facility for the wood chips, which is our primary biomass source. And you can see that these are chips of wood. These are hardwoods. We get them from an aggregator, a company that pulls together these chips and then transports them here. The source is from the lumber industry when they cut down a hardwood and they're going to use it for veneer and other kinds of products. The top of the tree isn't of much use. So instead of just leaving them lying there in the forest and decomposing, they can be chipped and then shipped, and then we can gasify them here. When we gasify these wood chips, they're in a very low oxygen environment, and because of the chemistry and everything that I don't understand, I'm just a math teacher, okay? It forces this gas, this very clean burning gas out of that, and then that's what actually creates the flame and boils the water and creates the steam. And then what's left over is a real fluffy kind of ash which has a high nutrient value, which can then be used to go back into the soil as fertilizer, for example. So if I say burn, I really mean this gasification process. So it's not like what happens in your stove, in your fireplace, or your stove at home.
Stepping inside the plant, it looks and operates similar to other power plants. There are 4 boilers, 2 of which are designed to burn biomass, and the other 2 for burning backup fuels of natural gas and fuel oil. 94% of the time, any single boiler can meet the campus demands. The plant went online in April of 2011, with the official dedication ceremony the following October.
Here we go. This day, EIU raises the bar in our commitment in environmental responsibility. And this day, EIU commits to new directions in research, teaching, and public service with respect to alternative energy.
When Eastern Illinois University started planning for this project, they soon realized there were several opportunities beyond generating power, namely in research and community outreach.
The number of ideas that came up then as a result of this Renewable Energy Center with regard to things we could do to connect with the community schools. I mean, I envision this plot of land over here where we plant these different biomass species being a place where we can bring students for field trips. I see that we can bring junior high and high school science students here to learn about biomass and gasification. We're going to have a research scale gasifier and then a commercial scale so they can look at all the science, pure science, and applied science that comes out of that. We've created a Center for Clean Energy Research and Education, which is going to be a great benefit to our faculty and students here, going to really move us forward in terms of a master's degree in alternative energy. We've got a minor planned, and eventually there'll be an undergraduate major in this area as well. So the spin-offs, I guess you'd say, have occurred more quickly, and there have been more of them than I had originally thought. One of the things that's really gratified me is that as this project has developed and blossomed, I've realized that we're doing more than generating steam here in this plant. We're generating a future for Coles County and for Eastern Illinois University. And I'm proud that EIU is a linchpin in that process. And we're looking forward to partnerships with industry, with the schools, with everyone in the region to make sure that this really does fulfill all that promise.
Will Heartland Highways ever run out of story ideas? Not if you keep sending them our way. Some of our favorite stories were suggestions from viewers like you. Send us your idea either by email, phone, or by sending us a letter. Help us make every mile an adventure.
Well, hopefully they're not all toured out. That wraps up another edition of Heartland Highways.
And anytime you want to learn more about Heartland Highways, you can go to our website at weiu.net and just click on the television tab.
Sounds good. We'll see you all next time on Heartland Highways. Yeah, what should we do with our hands?
One of you can sit like this, just not both of you.
I know.
Can I do that while she talks?
No, because yeah. All right.
Yeah, do that, Lori. The thinker. Yeah, we're
If I had a
ridiculous.
beard, that would work really.
Oh, please.
If I
No
have a beard, we have a problem.
Yeah.
If you have a beard, that is an awkward turtle.
Awkward turtle.
For lunch yet?
Yeah.
I know, I'm hungry.
Ready? Roll it. I love it.
Where every mile is an adventure.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
You know what? My mic was off.